So this is the next segment in our series about attention. Our attention span is so very important, and I've been talking about how some ancient cultures and yogis and rishis and people like that taught people how to focus their mind on smaller and smaller portions of our existence. And I want to tell a little bit of story that's going to be kind of amusing, but it illustrates a point. Um, there was a princess. Again, this is not the symbolism is something, but the story's about something else. She was up in her tower, and she was being kept there, and she had to sew all day. And I guess the king was waiting for her to grow up so she could find a right kind of a suitor. So anyway, the gentleman that came calling to the base of her tower said, "Look, whatever you can do, I can't throw the rope up there. It's too heavy, but throw me down one spool of your thread." So she said, "Okay." And what he did was he found a little beetle, and he took some sap from a tree, from a pine tree, and he stuck it on the back of the beetle, and he attached a thread, a small thread, onto the back of the beetle. And the beetle slowly but surely crawled up the tower. And then after that, he fastened on a piece of yarn, and then she pulled that up. And then on the base of the yarn was a piece of string, and so she pulled the string up. And then on the end of the string, he tied a heavy rope, and she pulled that up. And so she was able to escape. Now, the point of the story is about you take something that's very small, the thread, and you attach it, it's connected to something else, maybe a little bit bigger, a little bit more substance. And you keep doing that. And you take one moment, the moment of your attention, and you connect it to another moment, and then something subtle leads you to something huge, something big. Now, the story may be silly or whatever, but the point is that we have in our attention span. This is what we have. If you observe a real baby, a small baby, some of them are very alert. They'll look you right in the eye, and they'll say, I'm here." And some babies will kind of look around, and they just aren't able to focus. Of course, at an early age, their eyes can't see very well. But some people are adept at concentration. Now, there's a reason for that, because as we proceed to understand what our own awareness is, who we are, and we look at our attention and what we observe, what we experience, what we feel, on a moment by moment basis, that leads us to understanding of the subtlety of awareness, the subtlety of consciousness. It's a great mystery. You stop and think about it for a second. We, with our big, huge brain, weighs like a bowling ball up here, we got it all figured out. We say, well, look, there's no awareness in these cells. How could there be? Look how tiny they are. The cells are very tiny. But if you look at the cells, there's something really sophisticated and pretty damn amazing going on in every single cell. Every single cell in our body. And no matter how smart we are, genius, might have 200 IQ or whatever, if you had to manage the existence and all the operations that are going on in that little cell, and you had to get up every morning and say, okay, today we're going to, duplicate, or we're going to replicate, or we're going to, clean our system out or whatever, we couldn't do it. Something happening automatically doing amazing things that we couldn't do. But we typically say, well, look how big our brain is. Obviously, there's no awareness in these things, but there is. And that awareness is part of our own existence. So getting back to the frame of awareness now, how are we going to discover the infinity of our own awareness if we don't pay attention to it? If we don't look at our moment-to-moment existence? If we don't look at space and environment in a very different way? There's a phrase in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, perceiving the hidden, the subtle, and the remote. So the excitement is that every one of us, we have a brain, we have all the different parts of us, we have all the equipment. It's a matter of learning how we put our attention, how can we take this awareness that we have, our existence, and using it most effectively so that we get the full advantage of being human. And so that's a great discussion, because, well, what do we teach our young people? What do we teach old people? Life is fading, we're going on. How do you maintain your awareness? How do you continue in your awareness? Or when it's time to leave, when it's time to cross a bridge, how do you do that? You see? And going back to the original premise of our awareness is subtle. We can experience these subtle things by tuning in our awareness. You see, now, there's an important point here. You don't make your awareness like glue. I stick this minute, this second, and this second, and a consciousness already is a flow. It's already a river. In fact, it's moving on whether you're going to be conscious or not. There's an awareness in you when you're sleeping. There's some spirit awareness that sometimes we're conscious of and sometimes we're not. But there's awareness inside us all the time, even when we're asleep. There's some people who train themselves to, when they sleep, they just like lay down their body and they just walk out, so to speak, but not with two legs. So this is very important. The subject of our awareness gets into a lot of psychology and behavior and trying to understand what is a true and normal and natural state for our awareness.